like that, that's very unique. You just don't see it at the Home Depot. I know that's right. So we talked about business ownership. And this week right here is our fourth pillar. And one of the biggest concerns that we have, especially in the African American community, is that economic wealth gap. Some people call it the wealth gap, right? The difference between the amount of wealth that we have built as a people versus other folks. So this last series tonight is going to be talking about home ownership, the cornerstone of wealth building. All right, let me do this. So it don't look like we have any new people that ain't been here before, so we're going to just ride this thing out. There we go. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Tonight we're going to talk about why is home ownership important? What are some of the barriers to home ownership? How do we keep the house in the family? How many people, parents have died and had reverse mortgages you didn't know anything about, or took out second mortgages and end up losing the house? And that's losing a lot of wealth. Where do I start, and what are some other resources in our local community that is available? So let's go ahead and get started. So why is home ownership important? First of all, people that own homes, right? Number one, it gives a family safety and stability, right? Basically, it allows individuals to establish roots in a community and build equity over time. And you know, like I know, it's a difference when you stay in a rental house versus when you living in your own house, right? Sometimes when you're living in a rental house, you know, if you got a little trash in the front yard, your neighbor do something crazy, you ain't gonna stop and pick it up. But sometimes when you own a home, there's a certain level of pride that you want your grass to look good, right? Like Miss Shirley got the best looking grass in the neighborhood. I think I talked about that before. I got to stop talking about that grass. Because every time I ride past our house, I just want to just lay on it. And when we walk our dog, we be like, look, don't make sure that dog don't get on Miss Shirley's grass now. We don't want them problems. Yes. Yes, sir. Right. Well, maybe it won't for you, maybe for your neighbor. But those things are put in place to help keep the neighborhood, you know, everybody don't know how to act either. So sometimes you need these rules in place with homeowners association to make sure people are maintaining the property. So that way your house is well maintained, but if the house next door is not being well maintained, it affects your valuation or at least the appearance of your home. So that's why that stuff is important. So it ain't too much you can do about that. You moved in there, so now you got to play by their rules. Number two, investment. Home ownership is an investment. To me, it's like one of those investments that you make. It's good for you to make. And even if you don't know that you're making an investment, you're making an investment. Why do I say that? How many people in here is homeless? Nobody. Homeless. Homeless. I was about to say. The number one rule in sales is never ask a question that you don't know the answer to, and I almost messed that up. But this is the thing, guys. Most of us are not homeless. Therefore, we are paying a housing expense, whether it's renting a room or something, right? So when you own a home, if you already got to pay the money anyway, why not pay it for something that's going to be appreciating in value, that's going to give you some wealth at the end of the road, right? So, so it is a really good investment. Number three, just the pride of ownership. It's mine. It ain't nothing like your own. You know what I'm saying? I think old folks just say, God bless a child who got his own. Like, I love my mama and stuff, but when I go there to visit, it ain't home. Like, it ain't mine. So I still got to kind of do things that she like to get done, or not make her mad, or cut the TV down. But when you at home, you just walk around with a different sense of pride. Like you can't you can't tell me not to wear my short shorts. Like if you don't like seeing it, go to your room. But this is my house, right? Number four, control and freedom, right? Home ownership gives people control over their living environments, right? I remember when we used to rent an apartment, and we used to get a notice that they were going to come do an inspection. Or when you sign the lease, you'd be like, okay, they can come in anytime they want to without notice to, look around and stuff. I didn't really too much care for that, right? I felt like you was taking control from it. And also there are many tax benefits to owning a home, such as, you get to write off your mortgage interest, your property taxes, and things of that nature. And it's crazy because a lot of people have bought into the theory of you shouldn't own a home. But most of the people that tell you that you shouldn't own a home, ask them, do you own yours? Did y'all know of people that are renting renting places right now, 63% of people are not renting an apartment. They are renting a single family home. Y'all tracking? So it's like a lot of times we hear this stuff, but we got to be looking at, okay, the people that's telling me this, what is their benefit? What is their benefit? So I believe in owning a home. And like I said earlier today, if you are going to be paying a housing expense, so it's when I'm coaching business partners and stuff like this, I teach people about investing, right? When you invest your money, like in rent or paying your cell phone bill or your car note or whatever, you get a 1-for-1 return on that money. What I mean, if you pay that car note, and I say that car note is $500, you get 1 month use of that $500 because next month you got to pay $500 again, right? But when you are owning something and you are investing, there's a return on that investment. But check this out. So if you are paying $800 a month in rent, and I think that's a very conservative number. I don't know too many places where you can live for less than $800 a month. But let's just say $800 a month. You could purchase about $125,000 worth of house. It may not be in the most convenient location. It may not be downtown Winston Salem, swanky, twanky, or whatever. But you go out on the little outskirts and you can get you a nice 2-bedroom townhouse for $125,000, right? Let's look at this one right here. $1,100 a month is about $175,000 worth of house. All I'm saying is, it's never too late to start thinking about home ownership. You're never too old to own a home. So even if, this is the other thing about these whole series, now that you're getting this information, it is our job to start having these conversations within our social networks, our family, our co-workers, our children and our grandchildren, talking to them about the importance of home ownership. One of my kids asked me one day, he was like, well, why would somebody rent and they can own something? I was like, well, don't even worry about thinking like them people. Don't worry about that. We own ours over here. That's what we're going to do. We're going to preach ownership, right? And then as far as the economic wealth gap in America, the black home ownership gap is worse today. We only class of people that goes from 2010 to 2020, that's white folks, okay? I don't know the correct way to say it, but that's where I said it. They went from 70% home ownership up to 72%. So when you see white people, and you see 10 of them, 7 of them own a home. Only 3 of them do not. It is in their culture to own, and then they pass stuff down, right? The next line under them Asians, okay? They went from 58% ownership up to 61% over a 10-year period. Then the green line are Hispanics. They went from 47% home ownership up to 51%. Ain't that crazy? Y'all roll down Watown. Them jokers buy everything cash money. Y'all say what you want to say. They work together. 3 or 4 families get together. They live in one house. Buy it cash. They mess around. They get their cousin to come pour a concrete driveway. They got somebody else to get up there, fix up the roof. They got somebody else to fix up the bathroom. Before you know it, they done fix that thing up looking like a Taj Mahal. You can't even tell the difference, right? And then they get up the money, and then they take money from the next house, and they go buy another house, just like that. But look at us. We at the red line, we went from 44% down to 43%. We are going backwards. Why is that? Why is that? Median wealth in America, black median wealth is reported to be at 0 by the year 2053. And home ownership is a big reason behind that. Because if we are not even owning our home, we are not accumulating wealth, right? Now, let's talk about some barriers. How has this been happening? First of all, do people really even understand and know what is happening? You see, men lie, women lie, social media lie, but numbers don't. Do we even, now that we know, well, first of all, how many people before tonight knew that African American home ownership was on the decline? How many people knew it? 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's our job, now that we know, we need to start talking about it, right? Also, there's been some historical discrimination, some systemic issues that has caused this, such as redlining. What is redlining? Back in the day, say for instance, if you lived in the zip code 27101, okay, they would draw a red line around that boundary and say, okay, we are not going to lend money. The financial institutions say, we're not going to lend money to people who want to buy houses in this zip code. That's what they call redlining. That's what they used to do back in the day. But today, it's called whitewashing, and we're going to talk about that. Also, wealth and income disparities, all right? So this is the thing. Most of us are on the lower ends of the economic stratosphere, income-wise, right? So that's why, what we talked about last week, you got your main job, get you a side hustle so that we can start chipping away at some of these issues, right? So start a business, but you will be surprised when most African Americans go to apply for a loan, they apply as single. If you got one income, you're going to qualify for less house. That's just common sense. But if you got 2, a married couple going to apply for a house, even if they're both the same income level, let's say it's $2,500 a month, both of them making $2,500. So now instead of going with $2,500 a month, you go to the table with $5,000 worth of income a month, which will help you get qualified for a bigger loan or just for a loan in general, right? Also, another chronic issue that's affecting our community is the fact that a lot of people don't want to get married no more, especially us. We'll live, I ain't against, now I ain't judging, I ain't judging nobody. But strong families create strong houses, which create strong neighborhoods and communities, right? So a lot of people ain't even trying to get married no more. So then when they're not getting married, they're like, okay, well, why would I even buy a house if I'm not married? Like, what if I meet my man and then he want to buy a house? I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you like I'm going to tell my daughter. Look, you have your own too. Because if he want a trip, you always need to make sure you got somewhere to go and call your own. Now, me and Tia, we never had our own individually, but because we grew together. Does that make sense? But my daughter, when she graduates from college, my desire is to give her a starter home, not starter debt. Does that make sense? These are the type of conversations that we got to start being. Now, we can tell our children what our plans are, but when we tell them our plans, we do have expectations too. So if she don't meet our, or he or them or whatever don't meet our expectation, they don't get them, don't get the benefits. But we want to put our children in positions so that we can help them get started faster, right? And also, business people, business owners, they have poor records. You make a lot of money, but you don't have any accounting to show for what what your true expenses are, what your true income is. So when you go to the bank, they don't have anything to go off of. And then the fourth thing is lack of intergenerational wealth. So a lot of times when we get ready to purchase a home, we're not financially able to go to our mama and dad and say, can you give me the down payment? Can you help me with the closing costs? Because most people are living hand to mouth themselves, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of parents saying, I did good just to get you out of high school. But we need to really start trying to take it to that next level, because that's what generally happens when we come out of college. We are heavily burdened with student loan debt, whereas majority of our counterparts, they don't go to school and have all that debt. So instead of them worrying about student loans, their parents are able to give them the down payment to get them their first home, okay? And then, of course, credit. But check this out, y'all. This is what's going on today. It ain't just happening like 50 years ago. This is what's going on today. This issue of whitewashing.
It's a part of American real estate that is immoral and racist. It's called whitewashing. It's a process where African Americans may get a higher value on their property when they remove themselves entirely from the selling process. CNN's Joe Johns with more on what happened to one couple in San Francisco.
Tanisha and Paul Austin bought their home in the Marin area
This ain't working.
California in 2016. It came with a coveted view of the bay, but a long
The mic is on.
It just needed a lot of work, but we was up to the task.
and their work paid off, or so they thought. According to court documents, the Austins added a deck.
What you say? Want me to push play again?
A gas fireplace and additional living space. In January of 2020, with the build-out almost finished, they decided to refinance and take some cash out of the property. They got an appraisal.
That's better.
Right before COVID hit,
So we'll back it up.
the rates were extremely low. So we were trying to refinance to take advantage of the.
It's a part of American real estate that is immoral and racist. It's called whitewashing. It's a process where African Americans may get a higher value on their property when they remove themselves entirely from the selling process. CNN's Joe Johns with more on what happened to one couple in San Francisco.
Tanisha and Paul Austin bought their home in the Marin City area of Northern California in 2016. It came with a coveted view of the bay, but a long to-do list.
It just needed a lot of work, but we was up to the task.
And their work paid off, or so they thought. According to court documents, the Austins added a deck, a gas fireplace, and additional living space. In January of 2020, with the build-out almost finished, they decided to refinance and take some cash out of the property. They got an appraisal.
It was right before COVID hit, so the rates were extremely low. So we were trying to refinance to take advantage of the low rates.
And to their surprise, the appraiser wrote in her report that the house was only worth $995,000.
We was sick to our stomach. We was upset. We was angered. I was disappointed because, one, I knew that the house was worth more than that. And secondly, because we needed the house to appraise for a certain amount in order for us to be able to pull out the capital in it. And when it didn't come in at that, it was devastating.
They suspected that the seeming lowball valuation from an appraiser who happened to be a white woman may have had something to do with their race, or their location, or both. Marin City has a sizable African American population, unlike Marin County, which is mostly white.
she considered us living in Marin City and devalued our home based off of that.
Yeah, and it's all blackface.
So they decided to put their suspicions to a test. They requested yet another appraisal and got a female friend who was white to come to the house to meet the appraiser to make it look like this was her house.
I contacted her and I said, we have another, our appraisal came in low. We have another appraiser coming. Can you come and be me?
But that's not all they did. They also removed any evidence that black people even lived there, a process that's been called whitewashing.
Took down everything that resembled that this home belonged to us.
Yeah, or to an African American family.
Our pictures.
Even, I would say, even my hair products, I put them away so that someone would be tipped off by them.
A different appraiser, also a white woman according to the Austins, who visited the house in February of 2020, came back with a valuation of more than $1,482,500, an appraisal 49% higher than the previous one. In dollars, that's a $487,500 difference between two appraisals that came about 3 weeks apart. In federal court, the Austins have sued the appraiser, Jeanette Miller, who gave them the lower estimate, alleging housing discrimination. Miller did not respond to several requests to either make a statement, grant an interview, or put us in contact with her lawyer. Devaluation of the property values and rights of African Americans and Hispanics is a deeply rooted American tradition that's starting to attract more attention in Washington. And it's not always about million-dollar homes. Andre Perry, senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, writes about it.
We found that homes in black neighborhoods are underpriced by 23%, about 48,000 cumulatively. There's about 156 billion in lost equity in black neighborhoods. 156 billion.
At the end of the day, the issue raised by stories like this is about loss of wealth in black and brown communities. If you own property and you want to take cash out to remodel, send a kid to college, pay bills, or even invest in the stock market, a low appraisal of your property can be a life-changing event. But this may be an issue whose time has almost come. This past June, the Biden administration announced a task force to start looking into the problem. John and Brianna?
Joe Johns, thank you so much. This is happening across the country.
That is such a vivid example. It's such a, you're talking about $500,000.
That's happening. And it's not just not happening in black neighborhoods, it's happening in all neighborhoods that in houses that we own. So it's like these are things that are affecting our wealth, and we just have to be aware of what's going on. And even with like the mortgages, right?
It's a part of a
Check this out.
It's one of our most read stories on News4Jax.com. A recent analysis found Navy Federal Credit Union had major discrepancies between the approval rates of loans to white or black applicants. The investigation found America's largest credit union rejected more than half the applications filed by black members looking for a conventional mortgage. White applicants were approved more than 75% of the time. According to analysis by CNN, Navy Federal Credit Union only approved 48% of black mortgage applicants last year. White borrowers were approved 77% of the time. That gap is the highest among the top 50 mortgage lenders. Data also shows Navy Federal was more than twice as likely to deny black mortgage applicants than white ones, even when different variables were the same. For instance, the same income, debt, property value, or down payment percentage.
I feel validated at one point, but also I feel a bit of anger because it shouldn't be happening.
Bob Otandi is one of the report's examples. He's a Texas entrepreneur who immigrated from Kenya. Otandi told reporter Renee Marsh Navy Federal was his first choice for a mortgage. The credit union is the largest in the nation, serving military members, veterans and their families, and defense personnel.
I was the CEO of my company, so I had a pretty good income.
Your credit was in the 700s. You'd recently sold your house. You had $100,000 for the down payment, which was more than 20%.
Correct. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Otandi had a pre-approval from Navy Fed, then was rejected in a letter that listed excessive obligations in relation to income as the reason.
When they denied it is when we came back and said, oh man, There's something else going on.
And what did you think that something else was?
Discrimination.
Lisa Rice is a fair housing advocate who says the analysis may not prove discrimination, but the dramatic racial disparities are stunning and disappointing.
The black-white homeownership gap and the Latino-white homeownership gap today are both wider than they were in 1968 when we passed the Federal Fair Housing Act.
We got the house, thank God, and we moved on. But what about the ones who are denied? What about the ones who now can't get their own dream house? It's something that's going to affect the generation all the way down to their kids.
After Otandi's application was rejected by Navy Federal, another bank approved him within 2 weeks. Navy Federal has faced legal action in the past concerning lending practices. It's one of our most read stories on News4Jax.
So, housing discrimination, while they did pass the Fair Housing Act, it's still going on today. And we just need to be aware so that when we go to apply for loans, for mortgages and stuff like that, we know what to look out for, and also when to get somebody else involved with the situation, all right? So a big part of why a lot of us do get denied for housing and mortgage loans is our credit. So we're not going to go a bunch into credit, but just to give you just some general information, we will have going forward more specific seminars, like if you want to get your credit fixed, how to do it and stuff like that. But just so that you know, 35% of your credit score is based on your payment history, okay? So that's paying your stuff on time. Then 30% of it is based on how much you actually owe. It's called a utilization rate, okay? So a good rule of thumb, you don't want to use more than 30% of your available credit line. So if you got a Belts card for $1,000, you don't need to put more than $300, charge more than $300 on it. 15% is how long you've had the credit. 10% is the type of credit. So you want to have all types of credit. You just don't want to have store credit cards. You want to have like an Amex, a major credit card. You want to have an auto loan and maybe a house loan. All right? And then the other 10% is new credit, okay? So that's how your credit score, they use a formula to calculate your score anywhere from 350 to up to 820, I think is the highest. So now how do you fix your credit? There's a lot of people out there that will take your money and still not fix your credit. They know you're desperate, you're trying to get something, so they'll take your $4.99 or whatever it is. Some people will even give you a new Social Security number, which is illegal. Okay, let me tell you how this works. If you do something illegal and the feds get you, they don't care that somebody told you that it was the right thing to do. You're going to go to jail, all right? So how do you fix your credit? Number one, you got to be patient. If you got bad credit, it didn't get bad overnight, and it can't be fixed overnight, all right? We got to own our mess, all right? Number two, you got to check your credit, okay? You can get your credit report for free, for no charge. If you go to www.annualcreditreport.com, you can get a free copy of your credit report from each of the three major bureaus. You got Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. What I recommend is every 4 months, check your credit. Don't get all three of them at one time. So in January, pull your Equifax. And then in 4 months later, pull Experian. And then 4 months later, pull TransUnion. And you can always keep an eye on what's going on your credit, okay? Number three, dispute any errors. About 25% of credit reports got errors on it, okay? Now, this is a kicker right here. You cannot dispute accurate negative information. You know if the mess ain't been paid right. See, this is where they get these credit repair companies get you. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, all right, you give me this $4.99. We're going to send dispute letters to everybody. When they send a dispute letter to the creditor got to pull it off your credit report to investigate the validity of the debt. So what the credit repair people tell you is, listen, we're going to send these dispute letters. Now, if you want that car, you better go on and get it within the first 30 days now. Go on and get it now. Because what's going to happen at the end of 30 days, if it was accurate, it's going to pop right back on your credit report. So a lot of people think they're getting hooked up, but they're getting bamboozled and staying deeper and deeper in debt. And their credit situations are not changing, okay? So you can dispute accurate negative information, but it's going to come right back on there, okay? Number 4, pay off. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I have a situation that I have been disputing. I've never lived in Texas, but there's something on my credit report from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I've called and said, I've never lived there. I don't know what this is. I've never had this. And so when I checked it last week, it was still there.
All right. So the creditor is in Texas, right? It could be that the who is reporting that debt now purchased that debt from another company, because what they do is they will sell it. So like if you have a Belts card that charge off, another company will come in and say, okay, Belt, that's $1,000 debt. We'll give you $200 for it. And then they get the debt, and now they're going to try to make their money because they only paid $200 from the debt. So they want that's an $800 spread they're going to try to get from you. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure what's the source, like what?
It's a gas company.
It's a gas company.
Yes.
It's a gas company. So have you disputed it with the credit bureau?
Yes.
So you wrote the dispute letter. And after their investigation, they sent you a letter saying that the debt was validated?
I haven't gotten a letter.
Okay, so have you sent the letter to the credit agency?
To the,
To like Experian?
Equifax. Yes.
Equifax.
Yes.
So, okay, so you haven't got the letter back yet?
No.
Okay, cool. So what's going to happen is Equifax going to contact the gas company and say, we got a dispute, substantiate your reporting, and then you will have the documentation. And then after 30 days, if the company don't substantiate the debt, they got to take it off your credit report. Okay. So you made the first good step by sending the dispute letter. Now just let the process take its place. All right? So start paying down your debts, especially those debts that's past due or either have already been sent to collections. Take care of those first, all right? Then start making your payments on time. We got to take some ownership. You know what's due on the 15th. You can't go on the 15th and try to pay it, or go on the 16th and 17th and try to pay it and then be like, well, what had happened was that what had happened don't matter, all right? Number 6, reduce your credit card balances. We already talked about that. Number 7, avoid opening new stuff. Y'all remember the other night I told y'all that I had a Lane Bryant credit card while I was in college, and I don't wear Lane Bryant clothes. But how they get you is when you get to the register, would you like to apply for a credit card and get an additional 10% off? Like, no, I'm paying cash. Thank you. All right? And then consider a secured credit card. Now, this is a big thing. How do we keep the house in the family? This is big. After we done fought through sometimes discrimination or whatever the case may be, or we just got the mortgage, right? We got the house. The last thing that we want to do, we fought so hard to get prepared, that got our credit right, had our down payment. When we leave or whatever the case may be, we don't want that house to leave the family, right? We want it to be there. So how do we keep it in the family? Number 1, make sure that you do some quality estate planning, okay? Now, this is something that we do help our clients with, so if you need these services, of course, I can help you. And estate planning is very critical. For example, like our family, we have our home in a living trust. So it's not owned by Terry and Tia. It is owned by our trust, okay? So when we die, our children can't do what they want to do with the house because we have instructions for what we want done. It's called hand from the grave. Because just because I'm dead don't mean I still ain't in charge. Y'all tracking what I'm putting down? Sometimes we have to protect people from themselves until they know how to do better. So do some quality estate planning, all right? Trust is a big part of that. Joint ownership is always good, especially with a husband and a wife. Making sure that you jointly own the property so when one died, the other one person automatically gets the property. This is a big one too. Life estate deeds. I remember old folks used to say, I got lifetime rights to this house. So with a life estate deed, now I'm not an attorney, okay, but I'm just giving you general knowledge, but you need to, we could get you with the attorneys and the people that do it, Y'all track what I'm putting down. But with a living estate, you can basically go ahead and transfer your ownership into this document where you still have lifetime rights to the house, but you're already transferring ownership to the next generation. But you still keep all the ownership rights until you die, okay? This is big. Communicate your wishes. Don't just sit around over them neck bones and just say, listen, when I die, don't put a lot of money in the ground. You can cremate me or whatever. Yeah, communicate what you want, but document what you want. That's where the estate plan and wills and things of that nature come into place. And then regularly review and update your estate plan, okay? Last but not least, so where do we start today if you don't own a home? Yes, ma'am.
My question is, we're going back to the lifetime rights or whatever. If you put this, if you leave it to someone, do they have to get it refinanced? How do they take over ownership?
Okay, if you transfer the house into a trust, you just have to make sure that the lender is okay with you doing that, and they will tell you, and then the attorney will just do all the paperwork. So it don't necessarily have to be refinanced, okay? But it also goes back to, if there is a mortgage on the property, make sure that you got life insurance in place so that when you pass away, if you want that house to pass to your children debt-free, that you have enough life insurance in place to pay off the mortgage.
Now, we were told one time for us not to do that, just have enough life insurance so you can pay the house off instead of having a policy that was specific for the house. Instead, if we owed $85,000 on the house, just get a $200,000 insurance policy or get a policy large enough for us to.
Right, which is the same thing. Okay, that's good. Like, so there is a product called mortgage protection. And back in the day, you used to pay it, right? Let's say the house was $100,000, and as the house paid down, the life insurance amount went down. Those are kind of like dinosaurs. They don't really do that no more. So you get like a mortgage protection policy. It's just a regular life insurance policy that the values will stay the same throughout the length of the contract. But you do need to make sure that you have enough life insurance in place to cover your mortgage if you want that asset to pass to your kids debt-free. So where do you start today? Where do we start today? This will be Pastor Miller's homework assignment. Number one, check your credit report. There's over 25% of credit reports got errors on them, all right? Start putting money towards a down payment. Even if you are renting a single-family home, talk with the owner and see, you know what, can we enter some sort of lease with an option to buy so that a portion of my rent is being set aside to go towards the down payment, and then I get first right of refusal if you ever want to sell the home, and you're working you a deal. And if you don't know nothing about working a deal, you come talk to your boy. I can work a deal. I'm pretty good at deals. All right. If you're going to start, go and talk to a lender. okay? And get pre-approved. Find out where you are. If I wanted to buy a house today, could I do it? And how much could I qualify for? Okay? Mortgage loans is another product line that we will be adding that's already in place that we will be helping people with as well. Okay? So get pre-approved with a lender and then compare your mortgage options. I would say talk with a person that just don't work for Bank of America or your credit union or whatever. Talk with a broker who can shop around and get access to different loan programs so that they can give you several different options, okay? All right, be prepared for closing costs. It's more to buying a house than just getting a loan. You got to be prepared when you go and start looking for a home. You got to give them an earnest money deposit. You got to get prepared for appraisal fees and things of that nature. So when you start getting yourself right, you'll know what you're getting into before you walk into it. And then interview a couple of realtors who can help you find the right home for you, okay? So those are some things of where you can start today. Down payments is a big issue. There are a couple of different programs right here in this city that are amazing. Again, we're going to do more concentrated stuff, right? And we'll be bringing these resources here to you. Like Financial Pathways of the Piedmont, they got down payment assistance programs where you just go to a class over like I think it's 12-week period, but you could get up to $15,000 towards down payment assistance. That's a big deal. And the way that they do it a lot of times, like with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, that's another program. And what they'll do is they'll give you the $15,000 and you don't have to pay it back. As long as you keep that house as a primary as a primary property for a certain amount of time, they end up forgiving the money that they gave you for the down payment. So those are some things that can help you as far as down payment assistance. Okay. Any questions? I know I went over a lot of information, but any questions, comments, concerns, constructive criticism? Yes, Thomasine. Yes. It's there. Yeah. So we will be doing, because when you're getting ready to retire, there's a lot of stuff going on. There are a lot of norms that are no longer going to be norms. So we will be doing stuff like that. But also, more importantly, too, anytime we do a class, it's going to always be more general information, right? If you want something specific to you, sit down with somebody one-on-one so they can go over your health options, your health plan options, because health insurance is a big deal when you retire. Also looking at how much income, okay, because you may be stopping that good paying job, right? Then you got your Social Security. Okay, how much money do I take off my 401k so that I don't outlive my money? There's a lot of different moving parts. So yes, we will be doing stuff like that. Also looking at, like you said, a lot of times we need to downsize. We've raised the kids in this house all these years, and we get upstairs, downstairs, and back hurt, knee hurt. So yeah, we could talk through that stuff. Yeah.
And you already said something. You were on estate planning. Were you saying you're going to do something on estate planning, or we?
Yes, we will do stuff on estate planning like wills, living wills, your medical power of attorneys and stuff like that. Those are basic documents that you need to have in place. Like, do you want to be resuscitated? If you are in the hospital and the doctor say you're going to be in vegetative state, do you want to stay on that machine? Like, make it easy for your children. Like, go ahead and make those decisions while you are in good health, so that in those moments of crisis, our kids are not left trying to wonder what would mama want or what would Didi want, right? Go ahead. I already told Tia, I don't want to go in the ground. I think I want to go in the side of the wall. You know what I mean? It might get cold down there, but in the wall, it might be a little more cozy in the wall. But let people know what you want so that in those moments, it's less of a burden on them. You know what I mean? So yes, we will be doing that stuff.
And how often did you say you need to update your estate plan, or what do you already have?
I think you need to look at it at least once a year because things change. And y'all remember I told y'all about a client that I had. He died and forgot to change his beneficiary, had his ex-wife on there. Child, let me tell y'all this. I had one call me the other day. We was reviewing his stuff, and I said, yes, such and such is the beneficiary. He was like, she died, and I done remarried. I said, all right, well, you better get on over here so we can get it taken care of. But he still ain't showed up yet. So what will happen in that situation if the ex-wife is dead, if he died now, instead of that life insurance passing tax-free, it's going to get tied up in probate. Also, that's why it's important to know, too, a will is good, but a trust is better. I'm not an attorney, but I got people. Okay? I got people. Any other questions? And a lot of people think estate planning is for the rich. That is not true. If you got probably over $5,000 in assets, you probably need a trust. Because when you put your assets in a trust, it's closed and more private. A will be public. So if you don't want everybody in your business knowing who got what, get it in a trust. And so how you review it too. This is how we review ours, Beverly. So with our children, we have power rankings. Okay? So when one of them start acting stupid, all right, Julie, that one's supposed to get 25%. Drop that down to 12, get this other one 6, and get that other one 7. So depending on how people are acting, so if they act up often, I review it often. If they chill, I chill.
So if you're married, it has to be joint, or can I do mine and let him do his?
Y'all, when is the next marriage counseling? Marriage session?
I understand.
Third Friday each month. We're going to need to sign Beverly up.
I understand it. I understand it. If something happens to me, he'll get everything or whatever. If something happens to him. But if I got stuff that's
okay.
mine.
So the way that it works is like this right here, Beverly. I'm going to give you a high-level overview. The way it works is the trust don't come alive until the last person die. Okay. So we got a trust, right? So right now, if me and Tia, like God forbid, if she gone on the glory, it's automatically gonna come to me, right? Then when I die, that's when the trust picks up and carry out the final wishes. Okay. Does that make sense?
Go in there. Come on.
Now, I'm not an attorney, so I ain't giving legal advice. Be clear of that.
But I was going to say to Beverly, because Beverly said, well, I got stuff that's mine. Well, Beverly, I found out that once I got married, what was mine became ours.
It depends on the asset. It depends on the, so North Carolina is a community property state. Yeah. Okay. Now, we get into some legal stuff, but that's Beverly, if you wanted stuff that was yours to stay yours after you get married, that's what prenups are for. But like real estate, once you become married in North Carolina is a community property state. Cars ain't even important. You want to make sure that real estate, cars ain't important. But, so like a car, if it ain't paid for, the bank still own it. And then if he don't pay for it, the bank coming to get it.
I'm saying if it's things that are in my name only
Uh-huh.
and not being designated to him.
Right, right.
If-
So if you die,
It will pass on him
it depends. No, because then it might get tied up in probate. Because then if you don't die with stuff in order, then you got to go to the court and you got to list all your assets, and then they're going to appoint somebody to handle it and stuff like that. So the best thing is to do, while you're in good mind and good health, go ahead and get everything taken care of. But me and Tia, when we did our trust, we didn't put cars in our trust because cars are not important. Like, that's nothing. But the important stuff like the money and the business and who gonna run what and who gonna get what, we got power rankings, seriously. Legitly, as my oldest boys say, legitly. Yes, ma'am. Okay, that's a good question. She said, what if your house, you don't get the life insurance to cover your mortgage, right? But you got enough other assets to cover it. Okay, like a 401k and stuff like that. Okay. Now, the thing about a 401k and any qualified retirement plan is this right here. It is not designed to be here when you are gone. All right, let me break that down for you. You save up money all them years while you're working, 30, 40 years, and then you retire, all right? Now, even if you don't need the money, you don't need to touch that retirement money, when you get a certain age, at this point it's 72 years old, the government is going to require you to start taking money out of that account. They're going to make you take money out whether you like it or not. And it's called a required minimum distribution. The thought process is this right here. You know, while you were saving all that money in that 401k, you weren't paying no taxes on that money. And it was growing tax-free. And now you done retire and you think you're going to die and not pay the taxes on it. So they make you start taking money out at 72 years old based on your life expectancy because they want, by the time you leave here, all of that money to be gone so that you can pay the taxes on it. The other thing is this right here. What if you do good and you do leave some of that money? When you pass that money on to your children, they're going to have to pay taxes on it at that point. So even if you leave them, let's say $100,000 is left over in that account, you really only left them $70,000. So what we do is, and when we're doing our planning, we plan for taxes. So what we'll do is, while you may not need enough life insurance to cover that mortgage, you may need to have enough life insurance to service the tax debt so that you leave that money, the most money to your kids. Does that make sense? So while you may not need that much, you may need a little bit to cover the taxes. And if you're not, if you're saying, you know what, they can pay the taxes and live off of what's left over, don't worry about it. You done did your job. That's the way we look at that. But think about it now, required minimum distribution. They want that money to be gone by the time you're gone so that the government can get the taxes.
So that's not considered a gift?
No, it's not considered a gift, no. A gift is where you can give money, like I think it's $10,000 a year, tax-free to anybody you want to, and then you get to write it off. But no, it's different. Yes, ma'am.
Does that 72 years old change from year to year, or is that just a...
It used to be 70 and a half, and it went up to 72. They are lobbying now to get it increased higher. I ain't gonna get into politics, but you know who pushing that. And right, I ain't against it. I'm not against it. But either way, if they push it to 75, right, you're going to just have to take more. And whoever you pass that money on to, listen, you can delay taxes, but you're going to eventually pay them. Somebody's going to have to pay it. All right. Those are good questions. Any other questions?
So, I got a question. Think about what she said. I have a 401, and I also have a pension. I had a pension from a different hospital. So I don't get that until I turn, I think she said 60. Is that true?
It depends on the rules for that pension. Most of the time, it's an age plus year of service. Once it reaches that number, whatever is specified in that plan, then it'll tell you what you can get per month and for how long. And so sometimes you might want to review that, because it may be better for you to take control of that money, roll it over in a different vehicle that you may could grow better and make more money long term. It just depends. So you would just need somebody to sit down with you and help you walk through it. And you know who to call. Not Ghostbusters. Terry Edwards.
So I have at least 2 403Bs and a pension. So is it better to roll only one of those 403s do I actually contribute to? So is it better to roll that into the one that I'm contributing to, or to go the
Girl,
Roth
let me
route,
tell you
the
something.
Roth route that you're
Okay,
talking about?
so that's a good question. Okay, so my thing is this right here. The one that you ain't contributing to, if you gonna roll it somewhere that you 100% own it and control it. Don't commingle it back with the other people, because your job is dictating what you can do with that money, what your investment options are. So what I would recommend doing, if I was you, I would sit down with a qualified professional. You know who to call, not Ghostbusters. But sit down with somebody who can show you your different options and put it on the table and let you. But I will say, yes, you need to evaluate that old one that you ain't contributing to no more, because you're probably paying fees that you don't know you're paying. You're probably exposed to market risk that you don't have to be exposed to. And we probably can get you something with a guaranteed income for life on there as well. So yes, you need to sit down and talk to somebody. But I would not recommend rolling it over. Okay, also, if you got 401ks at old jobs that you done left, I was thinking of I told a guy this scenario the other day, and he thought it was pretty funny. I'm gonna try it here. It's like leaving your underwear at your old girlfriend's house. You don't want to do that. When you leave an old job, right, take your money with you. You get control of your money. Don't leave your clothes at the old thing's house. That ain't smart. So, okay, so I say stuff like that. It's a little risky, right? But it's rememberable. And it will help you remember stuff like, okay, when I leave a job, why would I leave my 401k out there? It's just like leaving my clothes at my ex-girlfriend's house. That don't make sense. And then you'll do the right thing. Okay, cool. I'm going to get a good talking to tonight. All right, any other questions? These are very good questions.
But she just said, I did that at the old job.
Uh-huh.
But I took that money and rolled it over where I'm at now. That's what I did. They still sending me letters about the pension.
Right,
So-
the pension is something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will be calling you.
Yeah, so it ain't a bad thing that you did, because you can't reverse it now. But I like 100%. I'm a control freak. I want 100% control of what I do with my money. Okay, cool. Any other questions? We got one right here. I see your hand. Then we got to see your hand.
Okay, with that trust,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, my mom, she put everything in a trust. Cause she's saying, you know, in case she go in the nursing home, she don't have to worry about the nursing home coming to take her house. And it's the trust, the money from the trust will go towards taking care of her in case she go in the nursing home. So she took and gave, well, she did the percentage thing. So was that a good thing
Yes, ma'am.
to do? Because
Very
she's
smart.
protecting her property.
Very smart.
So the nursing home won't get her property.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's very smart because people underestimate the cost of nursing homes. Like a bad one, I mean smelly bad, $6,000 to $9,000 a month. So if you have saved money, and a lot of times what happened with our older clients, you know, they work hard and then their health failed. Nobody told them about long-term care. Nobody told them about life insurance with living benefits. So now, in order to qualify for Medicaid, they got to spend down everything they got to get under $2,000. Let me tell you another thing that just happened the other day. I had a client. In order to qualify for Medicaid, you can't have more than $2,000 in assets. She said the social worker told her that she had to cancel her mama's life insurance policy. And it won't even $2,000 worth of cash value in the policy. Then, so she canceled the policy. Mama died. They ain't got no life insurance. Mama was in the funeral home for 3 weeks at that time. And I'm like, how long they gonna let us stay? I knew it won't, a certain funeral home, because they ain't gonna let you stay. They be like, you better come get them. But what I'm saying is, if you hear people that's trying to qualify for Medicaid, it's not the death benefit, it's the cash value in the life insurance policy can't exceed the $2,000. And if it does, you just, I'm on YouTube right now. Just take the cash value out and go on about your business. Keep the policy in force. But that's very smart. That's where your mama was talking to somebody smart.
Okay, even though she did the trust, now I had to go back and check and make sure she did the part with her money, make sure that, I'm sure that the lawyer put everything in the trust.
I don't know.
Because she was protecting her.
I don't
she
know.
say,
I don't know what the lawyer put in there. The lawyer gonna put in there what mama telling him to put in there.
Mama was talking so much, the lady had to take a break and come back. So I'm sure she took care of everything.
Yeah.
But I'm going to check behind to make sure, because at first, my son told her what to do. I really didn't understand, but once she did that, like if she go in a nursing home now, they can't touch none. They
Right,
can't touch
because there's
anything.
a look back period. So a lot of times, like if you transfer assets and you need to qualify for Medicaid, they can look back now 5 years. And if any property that was transferred within that 5-year period is still subject to being taken.
No, this being.
Right, but I'm saying is, yeah, she's out of that period now, so that's very good. So as you age, when you put your assets in the trust, you don't personally own it. It's the trust that own it.
Okay. That'll be the last question. But I wanna ask this because I see it so much. Families who have individuals who are handicapped or disabled,
Mm-hmm.
and they die,
Mm-hmm.
and the individual is left either to the state,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, the state, or to a guardian.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not protected. Let me say that.
Yeah. So people with children with special needs, What you don't want to do is, like, if you have a life insurance policy or any assets, you don't want to leave that to that child, because then that's going to disqualify them for other services. So what most people with children with special needs, they set up a special needs trust for that child, and that will not disrupt so the money when they die goes into that trust, the special needs trust. It's not owned by the child. The child continue to get the services, and the money that's in the trust is used to take care of the child. And the person who set the trust up identifies a trustee, so that when I die and she die, we got somebody that's going to be responsible for executing what they don't get to pick what they do. They're going to do what we said in the trust. But yeah, that's when the trust come alive. So that's another good thing. If you know people that have children and family members with special needs, ask them, did you know about a special needs trust? And if they don't, you need to get them to somebody. Who you going to call? They ain't going to be Ghostbusters. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think Reverend said this is the last question. Okay. No, I'm just saying. That's just like,
does money in the trust accrue interest?
Depending on the underlying investment in the trust. So the trust is just how the account is titled. But if it's in a savings account, it's going to earn very little interest. But if you put it in a more growth vehicle, it could grow more interest. So it just depends on how the assets are invested in the trust. And you get to pick that. So in our trust, we already said this is the type of investments that it's going to be in, and this is who is going to manage the investment portfolio. And then our trustee, only thing he got to do is just do what it said, because we already got everything lined out. All right. So we can't answer all the questions in one night, but what we can do is my contact information. Y'all can write my cell phone down. That's the best way to get a hold of me. My cell phone number is 336-416. That's 416-8327, 8327. So 336-416-8327. You give me a phone call, and we will set up a confidential appointment. And if there are things that I can do to help you, I'll let you know. And if there are things that you need that I don't do, I have connections with CPAs, attorneys, that we coordinate and do planning together with. So I'm sort of like the quarterback. I'm just calling the shots and then getting the right people at the table. Okay? All righty. Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but just a comment.
Yes, sir.
I remember the very first night this month when we got ready to get started, you were talking about being nervous about presenting.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you right now, it's like you should never be nervous about that again. You've done a fabulous job this whole month.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little shy if you ain't noticed. I'm a little shy. Wait, that norovirus had me Friday, though. I was quiet for 48 hours. Yeah. You had it Saturday. Man, hey, we made it, though. All right, let's get ready to get out of here. I got to go celebrate my favorite girl's birthday. That's right.
Well, again, let's give Mr. Edwards a hand for a job well done. He has represented well. I know there's probably never a dull moment in your house. I know it. Mm-hmm. But we're going to pray and go home. Father God, we come before you this evening in the name of Jesus to say thank you and to give you glory and honor. God, we want to thank you for everything that we've learned here tonight. And God, that we will use it to uplift and upbuild your kingdom, that we will spread the good news, God. We ask in the name of Jesus that you would have your way in our lives. God, build us up. Show us the way, oh God. Guide us, lead us, protect us, Lord. Father, I ask in the name of Jesus, we will leave this place and we will head out to our separate destinations, that you would encamp the angels around us, oh God, to protect us and keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger. And God, when we return to our separate places, we ask that things will be found in order, God. In Christ's name we pray, amen.